Screw it, we're having technical difficulties, so we'll still roll with it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fitting episode 40 of the Talking Nonsense About Impact Wrestling podcast. My name is Jeff. Excited to be here. It's a crazy week, and obviously by that mess up, it's just the start of it, but who cares? Rebellion is coming up. We're excited, and alongside me, as always, are the Tony Khan and Vince McMahon to my Don Callis. It's Max and Craig, and you guys can fight over who's who.
I'm trying to decide which one I want to be.
I'll take Vince. I'll take Vince.
I mean, that's fine, because I feel like at least Tony, for the most part, knows what to do with the people who work there. I don't think he'd have, Samoa Joe sitting doing nothing for 2 years, but hey.
To each their own. All I know is, Craig, you better not sneeze on this thing or you're not Vince McMahon. I know that. It's the only thing I know about him. All right, so we have a...
He hates sneezing, right? It's like a sign of weakness?
It's a sign of weakness. So is sleep more than 4 hours.
And he has the power to call hell. He has the power to ring hell.
No chance in hell. All right, I don't know what we're doing. We have so much show and we're stalling time. I'm going to kick it to Craig. He's going to do his normal nonsense, and then we'll... introduce our guest, go to commercial, and be right back for hot topics and that. So, Craig, without further ado, go for it, my friend.
Well, I don't know what you mean by nonsense. This is purely professional. But yes, it's me. It's M.I.B. Craig, aka Mr. Impact blog for the Tnaiw channel. Once again, we're back on episode 40. Obviously, the usual nonsense. You can find us here, there, everywhere. Facebook, to Twitter, YouTube to Sounder. We recently just uploaded our talking points where we go through Rebellion for this Sunday, and Jeff gives out all sorts of nonsense points. Guessing it's based on a thing in the States. I'm guessing. I've never seen it. I went along with it.
Around the horn for the people in the States. Sorry, Craig, I left you hanging there. He's not too familiar with ESPN and their Around the Horn. So if you're in the States, around
that's
Around
smart.
the Horn is a show in the States where the points don't really matter, but there's a winner at the end. They get 20 seconds of spotlight, and that's how we did the Rebellion preview. Is what Craig was trying to say. Sorry, Craig. Sorry. There you go.
And so there's that, and there's this old wrestling shit with Jeff unboxes some Tnaiw figures. That's the basic term. If follow us here, there, everywhere.
All right.
Speak loaded to Sounder at some point tomorrow, as well as YouTube during the day tomorrow. Straight after, as soon as it loads YouTube, it'll be uploaded to Sounder.
All right, Craig.
Listen to it.
I'll cut the strings for you. Craig is on how much sleep?
Like
6
hours.
Not bad. Oh, come
that's
on,
fine. It's more than Jeff gets in a week.
But either way, Craig was with us, as he was saying, for the Rebellion preview. It's doing well so far. We really enjoyed it. We had some new family members on it, and we're taking panelists all the time. If you want to be part of it, just write us at Tnaiw channel, and you could be a contestant. It's really fun. Thank you to everyone in the chat group. Let's kick it to the commercial with our new t-shirts that are coming out next month. Thank you guys for that and your help on that, Tnaiw fam. And we'll be right back with the author of the upcoming 20th anniversary of TNA Impact books, Michael Cavaccini. And we got so many questions for him. It's his second month in a row coming with us, and look forward to seeing what he's done. All right, we'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the Talking Nonsense About Impact Wrestling podcast.
All right, wait for those shirts to come out. I'm excited. I'll buy all three. Yeah, of course.
I'm really excited about that Johnson & Johnson shirt.
I'm sure you can. And we'll try to match your skin tone the best possible. So everyone does. Send us in. If it's a little extra, we'll charge you. All right. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to kick it to Craig yet again. But not before I introduce our guest, Michael Cavaccini, who's here. Coming right now. Boom. Hey, there we go.
Hey.
Hey everyone.
What's up, buddy? Claps.
Hi.
Everyone, if you're not familiar, or if you're new to the family here, Michael Cavaccini obviously is the author of the upcoming 20th anniversary books, and he's interviewed everyone you could possibly think of. You can see his Twitter handle there, and it'll link you to his website, michaelcavaccini.com. What's going on, Michael? How's it been?
It's been good. Things are going well. The interviewing is slowing down a bit. I feel like I've gotten almost everyone I want. So right now I'm kind of focused on getting any remaining people from the active roster, as well as just some other, surprise people. Some are big names. But I'm working around their schedule and just waiting to hear back from them. But no, it's going well. I mean, it's nice to kind of slow down a bit because for like 5 or 6 months, it was like, anywhere 10 to 15 interviews.
I know, I was going to say, as soon as we did the interview with you, and I mean, you were tagging us before that, but it was like, boom, 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 of all the people you interviewed. It was like, I couldn't wait to ask questions, and of course, when it comes up, I don't remember what I was going to ask, but, and there's obviously a new crop of talent, so we'll get into all that as well, but excited to have you back. Craig, do you want to lead the charge here? And let me mention real quick, I'm sorry, after this segment, we will have Michael here to play a game and answer any questions you all have for him as well. If you want to call in and ask questions to Michael straight to the source, hit up Craig on Twitter, and we will get you set up. All right, Craig, it's your show, my friend.
Okay, let's jump straight into those hot topics. Starting off with number one. Obviously, recently we've had the debut of Ritchie Ellering. Taylor Wilde has confirmed is back, and she's going to be here to support this month. Are the knockouts division back, or is more work needed? Let's jump to.
That's the best part of Craig's internet, is he just leaves you hanging. Either that or
the Worcester connection. Oh man.
So who we jumping to, Craig? Now that you're back in live,
Craig, you're back live, buddy. Let's go.
So what? Okay, so what did you hear? I don't want to go through it again.
Who are you throwing it to first?
Michael, there you go, buddy.
All right, Michael, go ahead and start us off.
Yeah. So, this is interesting. So I actually interviewed Jordynne Grace the day before this became news, right? So talked to her on Wednesday, and I asked her, I said, so what are your plans for Sunday? And she said, well, I'm part of this tag team match and looking forward to revealing who my partner is going to be. And I was under the impression that we weren't going to find out until Sunday. But, they obviously made the big reveal on Thursday night. And this is my first time really becoming familiar with, Rachel. I mean, I'm not, I don't claim to watch all of wrestling. So, I wasn't really paying attention to, I guess, NXT when she was there or anything like that. But I mean, hey, young talent. The thing that I thought was really cool was obviously her connection to Paul Ellering, right? I grew up watching the Legion of Doom. And so I thought that's pretty cool. She's got this kind of lineage that's part of her history, so that's pretty cool. And everyone seems to like her. And I do think she's going to be a good asset. I also think Taylor Wilde, who I thought was underrated years ago, and obviously really pretty. Happy that she's back and that she's getting an opportunity to shine again. I do think that. The knockouts could always use more talent. Maybe with the whole New Japan thing, we could kind of get a little more international flavor in the division. Not sure, but they seem to be pretty good about bringing people in, even if it's just for like a taping here or there. So, but I do think they probably need to sign some more people long term just to kind of give it a shot in the arm. And I do think that we're probably going to see more of that in the coming months.
Max.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think that having Ellering and Wilde back was definitely needed. Because I felt like, I know Jeff and I have talked about previously, the knockouts was really always one of their strong points, and I kind of felt like it had started to kind of drop a little bit just because it at least in the women's tag division, just didn't have really solid tag teams. So I think adding Ellering with Jordynne Grace is definitely a good idea. I think that gives them. I don't know. Is she like permanently signed, or is this just kind of a sure thing? Do we know?
Jordynne?
No, Ellering.
To my knowledge, she was one of the ones that signed.
Okay, so she's permanently signed. Okay, then her and Jordynne can actually be a tag team, hopefully. Obviously, but I do agree that I think you do still need one more tag team, and I would probably say maybe one or two more knockouts outside of the tag team just to come in, just to kind of give you some fresh rotation on matches and make things interesting. But I definitely think I won't say it's all the way back, but I definitely do think that it's on an upward trajectory.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was snickering at that. They added her to the roster page with the swiftness. Yeah, they did because they needed to show they have some women on the roster. It was depleted. I was never worried as far as who they were going to bring in. I know one more that I'm pretty positive has already signed, but is having some issues getting there. But once all of this is revealed, I knew we would be in a good place. The problem is were they saving that of Taylor Wilde for a live show? And it seemed to be that way since they held her for the TNA and then, on to the next. I think Rachel signed. I think she's a great addition. Like Michael, I'm not too familiar, but so much of her work, and now just kind of seeing it with fresh eyes. And obviously, I think Impact's great at taking second generation, third generation wrestlers and giving them something, and not messing them up. So I like that. I know some people were weird about the debut. I was, because I wish she came out with AOP. I thought that would be a great little wink to her dad. Or big wink, pun intended there. But yeah, she's a great addition. Taylor Wilde, I said before that maybe I wasn't the biggest fan at the time of her original title reign, but once again, I don't think we got to see everything she had, and if we did, it was still pretty much better than a lot of the stuff out there today. So I think she'll fit right in. It's smart of them to come. That was one of my biggest things with her. She was a Canadian was the gimmick. I don't know. So now she has this punk rock gimmick, or seems to be that, their moans and all that. So I really dig that. It seems with her, and obviously not getting too far into the rebellion, but Deanna, the first person on Taylor's hit list is Deanna. So, do with that what you will. Obviously the page was there in that vignette. It could be she is the champion. It means not. And the reason I bring that up is because if Deanna's going to stay champion, we need to start building programs with her. And if these programs are going to be these one-shots of Jazz, then ODB, then Jazz, and now Tnaiw, we need to get away from that. And I don't know if Taylor's a long-term program. So that is what I'm not getting too excited about. But I know there's other names coming that I am excited about. Since we have Michael here, you could just nod and tell me to F off. But Jordynne, did she mention anything? We're talking about Rachel signing, but did Jordynne extension come up?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I wasn't sure if I should ask this question or if, Ross, the PR guy, would be like, don't answer that. But he didn't interrupt my question, which he never has. He's always been good when connecting me with talent. But yeah, I asked her. I said, and I was respectful. I said, I'm not sure. I said to her, I'm not sure if you're. I said, I'm not sure how much you want to get into. I said, but do you plan on staying with the company? I said, selfishly, I hope you do, because I think you're great, and I think it's a good home for you, and that there's more for you to do, and all this stuff. And she didn't say yes or no. Okay. But she kind of left it open for, either way. That she said that she was obviously really grateful for the opportunity at Impact, and that she thinks it's important that she did work at Impact, and et cetera, which obviously I'll include all that, I'm sure, in the book. And it'll be interesting though to see where she winds up, because she didn't say she was staying, she didn't say she was going, but I also wouldn't be surprised if she did go, because it just sounded like the way she was phrasing it, that she was kind of talking about Impact in the past tense. And that could have been just me overanalyzing it. But
from what you're saying, I think from listening to your words of how you're saying she worded it before you even said that, I had the same vibe, as if, thank you for the opportunity's great. I needed to come here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had, I'm happy I was in Impact. I learned it's kind of the next step of, hey, like, thank you for everything.
Like she said, I needed to, it was important that I came here. And I was like, came? Like, it's not, she didn't say, like, I am here.
Well, even if she does go, and she does move on to something else, bringing these Ellering, regardless of that, I think we still need a couple of new knockouts, for sure. Some up and comers, but we don't have to force it. I know a lot of people said the Sea Stars and all these people that we would need to develop strongly to even have a good match with Fire and Flava, I believe. I think we just need some iconics to come in and light up that group.
Hell yeah.
All right, question number 2. Let's see if Craig's internet can make it through the whole reading this time.
So,
is it showing up?
Impact is...
Hey!
Alright, so Impact is rolling, momentum is growing up, heading to Rebellion. Over or under 20,000 pay-per-view buys?
You did it, Craig. I was doing the beer money for you. Am I starting? Yes. Bugging you.
Yeah.
20,000 buys. So, look, man. Had you asked me a week ago, I still, as an Impact lover, would want to say yes. But as transparent and unbiased as we try to be on the show, I wouldn't have expected more than 20,000. And that's a fair number. I mean, it's a number that, and we talked about this off air a little bit. That's a number that those 5 digits we haven't hit in quite a bit. Obviously, you could take into this. We did Slammiversary, had some good numbers and such, but we don't know the specifics. But as far as from 2014 and backwards, we've hit 60,000 2 months in a row, and it was only in 2006. But we've had to hit 5 numbers before, but we weren't even hitting them in the Hogan era. So I think it's a stretch. But after this week, after This Is Rebellion, all the stuff they were putting out there, and the tone that was changing on Twitter, and the feedback we were getting in the chat room, I just feel like this is going to be a big ass show. I know our friend Bert, there you go, Bert, taking a big swing with 50,000, over 50,000, but we've only done that, I think, 4 times in the history of this company, 21 years. Or 19 years, whatever it is. The book would already came out if it was 20. Yeah, I don't know. I want to say over, but I don't want to get ahead of myself when my gut's telling me not. So, I guess that doesn't answer the question.
So you're saying over?
Fuck it, yeah, over. Let's go over.
Okay.
20,001.
What do you think, Michael?
So I cheated. I asked a friend who is an insider. I said, "Is this realistic? Can they get 20?" Because I said, I said to him, I said, I know that Slammiversary is kind of the benchmark for the, in recent times, and I said, I know Hard to Kill didn't surpass that, so Rebellion could give it a run for its money. Do you think 20K is realistic? And this person said, yes, it is. And I said, okay, well, they literally probably have the data.
Right, of pre-buys. Yeah.
I do think that 20K is definitely, achievable. And I was doing the math. Now, I don't know what they owe, how much of a cut Fight would get for this, but if you think it's like, let's say they get 20K and it's, $40 a pay-per-view, that's like $800,000. That's not bad. I mean, even if you have to give a percentage of it to Fight, that's pretty good. I mean, right? I mean, because WCW for years would just like lose money on pay-per-views. So, even when they were hot. So it's if Impact can find a way to really make them profitable and kind of build toward the pay-per-views and really get people hyped up like they did with this, with Mauro Ranallo
Yes.
in the main event, and all these other great matches on the card, they can hopefully keep hitting certain, levels each time. Because, back in the day, they used to kind of give all this stuff away for free, right? That was kind of the mistake that WCW made. They would just give away all the matches for free. So it seems like Impact has been really smart about it lately. Because, Hard to Kill was huge, right? And now Rebellion is looking to be even bigger than anything in recent memory. So it just makes you wonder, well, what's Slammiversary going to look like?
Yeah, to touch on your point really quickly there, you never know. He might have said yes because 20,000 pre-buys, or whatever they're called, might have already happened. So that's pretty cool knowledge to know that. I'm guessing that's going to affect Max's answer. But I do want to touch this real quick. 800,000, to touch on that point, that is a good purse for a company that has no, obviously is building again, but also has no fans in the arena, has, no other sales coming in besides the pay-per-view buy to pay for, the roster there. Obviously, we've been fans when we could not afford the pay-per-view and someone had to swoop in last minute and do it because it wouldn't pay for even the roster salaries. So that's awesome to hear and awesome to know, and that's a good sign for Impact, Max.
I think they do well. Whether or not he was going to, wouldn't matter what Michael said, I was going to say over. I was looking, I actually was Googling to see what AEW did. Because Revolution did 125,000 buys. I don't think they get there. I do think they get close to 50,000. Because I think this is going to pull a lot of AEW fans in because the AEW title is on the line. If it was just Kenny Omega, AEW guy, wrestling for the Impact Championship, I don't think it would matter. But the fact that the AEW title is on the line as well means that I think there are a lot of people who normally wouldn't watch it will tune in just for that match.
No, that's a great point. I don't know if you had more. I'll let you continue. I just want to mention, because I always forget stuff, that we didn't mention Mauro Ranallo on the preview show. So spoiler if you didn't see it already. But that's a great point. That's another avenue that we talked about last week where this will get the casual fan that maybe likes NXT but hasn't watched Impact in years, or whatever it may be. So they're spending money in the right places to get that attention and that buzz, and rightfully so. Now, the one thing I do want to say with the AEW thing, I think you're right, Max. I think this is the turning point, and I think the reason is because after this week, it felt like Rich Swann might win.
It's possible. That whole thing, like, I know when this match was first announced, I was like, okay, cool. Kenny Omega's gonna, like, if it's Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann, it might as well be Kenny Omega versus you. Like, there's Kenny Omega's walking out of there as champion. It doesn't matter. But the more the build up to this has grown, the more I do feel like Rich has a shot. And maybe that's just good storytelling that they're making me think that, the Brooklyn Brawler is going to pin Hulk Hogan and win that title. But I feel like that he definitely has a shot. I already am 100% sure he's kicking out a one-winged angel.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've spent too much time talking about the fact that, quote-unquote, nobody's kicked out. By the way, I'm pretty sure Bushi kicked out of it. So that no one kicked out of it is a lie part. But that happened over in Japan. And if what happens in a different country
Max,
doesn't
I'm
count,
sure Kenny Omega fans have probably combed through his history with a fine-tooth comb and to see if that was accurate or not. They're lying on Impact. They would have found that, the trolls.
I'm pretty
for real?
sure.
Google it.
Yeah, Kota Ibushi kicks out a one-winged angel.
Yeah,
there's a YouTube video that has. Hold on, let's see. Hold on, ready? 1, 2. Oh, yep. Here's the link, by the way, people.
Oh no!
For anybody who wants to go watch Kota Ibushi kick out a one-winged angel.
Our point.
That liar, Kenny. See, Kenny's already lying. So I got Rich Swann. No, but I do think that because the AEW title is on the line, I just feel like a lot of AEW fans are going to buy this pay-per-view.
Just for so long.
And the fact that what did I just do? But yeah, so that just makes me feel like it's going to go over 20,000, and I think it could be closer to 50,000 buys.
Yeah, it's just and we talked about it endlessly, and obviously he plugged it. Go watch the Rebellion preview show after this. It's our watch. It's really fun. But we talk extensively, and by the end of it, we all agreed, spoiler alert, 5-0, that we think Rich is going to win. And last week I wanted to said that, and the fact that AEW is now having to pay attention to us. That's the key. They have to watch this pay-per-view because now they might lose their title, which means then they'd have to watch Impact on the regular. So I think there's a lot hand in hand here. And I'm going to credit AEW here because they knew their fan base was strong enough to eat the hate from the Impact fan who's saying, well, you guys haven't mentioned us. You haven't mentioned us. Well, obviously they're not going to mention us because they're the higher company here. So we've talked to that an endless amount of times, but the fact that they haven't talked about us, and we hated that fact, and we felt put down about it, makes us a very David and Goliath story. So I think we can get our redemption at Rebellion. Oh, twofer. All right. I'm going now.
All right, kick it to number 3, the final topic tonight. What's the biggest surprise you're hoping for at Rebellion, Max?
Well, I would love for it to be AJ Styles walking out.
For what? For Rachel Elderling's part? What do you mean?
But like after everything, after the end of the match. But I know that's not going to happen. But I do think that we could see some type of I want to see some type of New Japan invasion. I would love for Will Ospreay to come walking out after the main event to base his music hits and he comes walking out. I think that would be the ultimate. But I'll settle for after Good Brothers get their championships back from Finjuice, the titles they never should have lost in the first place, is Guerrillas of Destiny showing up and beating them down. So I'll settle for that, but I want to see after the win, when you see whoever, Kenny Omega or Rich, standing there holding both belts up, I want to see Will Ospreay's music hit, and I want to see him walk out as kind of a, hey, there's still one belt you don't have.
Michael, what are you hoping for at Rebellion?
Well, originally I thought it was going to be Jordan's partner, right? I thought it was going to be that. So since it's I really hope that Rich wins, like you guys are saying, because I think that is how you shock people. It seems so obvious that Kenny would win. So if Impact has the leg up, I actually think that would kind of pique the interest of the AEW fans more, because they'd be like, what? They'd be all pissed off because they're kind of like a cult anyway, those fans. And they'd be like, you can't be better than Kenny. You can't be better than AEW. And kind of force them to pay attention and tune in. So that would be pretty bold if they did that. Aside from that, I don't think obviously none of the talent that was cut recently by WWE are going to show up any sooner than Slammiversary. So I don't expect that. You just never know, though, with this company, right? I mean, Matt Cardona came out a few months ago, and no one saw that coming. So there's always, someone could always show up or something could happen. And I even read, probably someone in this chat group mentioned it about Scott D'Amore, turning heel eventually, and how enjoyable that could be, right? Because we're used to Don Callis, but what about Scott? I think Scott would be fantastic as a heel. So I hope that happens eventually, and don't know how that would all play out, but I just think that would make for some really epic promos.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. There's nothing there that hadn't crossed my mind as far as that would be my one, but I had so many. I'll cross those off and say the biggest one for me is what the chat group is saying here. If Thea Trinidad and I don't know what Andrade's name is. I think you still use Andrade. If they appear, you know his name.
I think he's La Sombra.
That used to be his name. Yeah, so it might be La Sombra. And I think his real name is Andrade, his real last name. But yeah, so if they come out at the end instead of Ospreay or someone like that, I think that's awesome. Now, the thing with Ospreay would be dope as well, because obviously he would be that third part. And it's interesting the timing of when they gave Ospreay the title as well. With that being said, Ospreay needs to stay the hell away from Impact. He used us last time.
Yes.
And what's that? You say he's an asshole?
Says
He's an asshole. No, I love his wrestling. I don't know much about him personally besides what's been out there, but he did use us for Wembley, and that bothered me a little bit before we got spurned by AJ and the Good Brothers as well. So my biggest thing would be Andrade and Thea together. I think as a package, that's huge. Someone like Ospreay could come out by themselves, and that's just huge because he has the IWGP title. So the pairing of them two would be awesome. Rich winning would be obviously the biggest surprise for a lot of us. But I have to choose one. I think I'd go Andrade. Craig?
The real question, though, is would Ospreay be willing to come out knowing he has the ugliest title on the show? Like, by a pretty wide margin.
Followed by the knockouts.
So, I do have something that I saw. I don't remember who posted, but someone on Twitter posted this, and I kind of can see it. Obviously, EY probably isn't going to be in this match. So someone and David Richards posted this morning that it's signed on the dotted line. David Richards takes EY's place in VBD for the match. It's Eddie and.
That's a good point.
That'd be. I hope not. I want him and Eddie to come back together, not go apart.
No.
Just like I saw somebody else say Chris Harris. I was like, no.
Oh.
Yeah, Dave Richards joins VBD.
No. He did say American Wolf, so that leads me to think ROH. But that aside, I've been saying Davey Richards will be signed by Impact for a long time now. So I hope just to make me right that he does. And I do want to see the Wolves back together. So I don't know why I was thinking on the other side. VBD, if Heath is healthy, look out for a Heath surprise here. I wouldn't be too surprised there. All right, so that was fun. We have an hour left, so let's play with that time. Go into the commercial again. Oh, MLW tweets. Oh, maybe it's there that he's going. But let's go to commercial. We'll be right back. We'll play a game Craig has made for us, and we'll take some calls.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to the Talking Nonsense About Impact Wrestling podcast.
All right, we're back, and Craig is going to be in charge. We're going to do... What game is it, Craig?
Would you rather?
All right. Is there any explaining that needs to be done? Is it like around the horn or?
No, basically, pretty much. I decide. Well, no, you can talk amongst yourselves and which one you prefer. So
he gives us two options. We got to pick one or the other.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll answer. Yeah, you go.
So,
yours.
Yeah. So I've got a feeling I'll be called a homer for this one, but let's go over it anyway. Doug Homer.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I heard something else.
To each their own. I don't. I just. What's that have to do with wrestling?
They misheard it. So, let's go. Doug Williams. So you can either. Would you rather Doug Williams never be in the British Invasion, or Doug Williams become a world champion?
Want to start with our
guest?
Do you want to start with Michael?
Sure. So what are the options here? That if he becomes a world champion, then he's not in the British Invasion?
Or he never was a part of British Invasion.
Right. And real quick thing about Doug. So I'd reached out to him prior to him, announcing his comeback. And it just, I heard nothing. It was just like crickets. And then when he announced it, I was like, I should reach out again because he's probably paying attention to that email address. And it worked. and I got the interview like within a week of him announcing it. So, and he's real nice guy. I mean, according to him, I mean, the British invasion is really like the highlight of his career. So, and I agree. And, world champion. You know what? I'd say I think it's fine the way it is, that he was part of the British invasion. I'd rather keep that because the future is the future. So he always has the opportunity to become a world champion somewhere. So, I don't think that that's necessarily off the table yet, because we've seen it with, wrestlers who are older who still get a shot at, hell, if Goldberg can still win the gold.
PCO.
Why not Doug? So, I would definitely keep the British invasion.
Do you go rather Doug Williams become a world champion?
Yeah, I mean, Global Force Wrestling has a world champion, right?
Not anymore.
He could win that.
You mean in general? Yeah, I agree. I keep it the way it is. He's
Yeah, I like Doug Williams. I'm not. I mean, this is, we're not talking about Crimson becoming a world champion here, or Douglas Williams not being a part of British Invasion. Like those, I like Doug Williams. I'd be completely fine with him.
Craig's credit, the reason he said Homer is because he's saying that he puts Doug on that pedestal of he should be world champion, but if he could have won a world championship, would you have taken that over British Invasion? I would say no, still, because Magnus and Rob Terry needed something, like someone to lift them and carry them at that time especially, and he did that, man. He is a professional through professional.
To be fair, if it was up to Craig, Doug Williams would have basically had a Goldberg-like undefeated streak. So, but yeah, and I like Doug Williams. I think him winning a world championship would be fine. If I had to choose either him winning a world champion and still being part of British Invasion, or him, never existing, basically, I'm fine with him being a world champion.
Yeah, so in between them, we're gonna just kind of bring up people that hopefully, hey, a kitty society.
Hello, this is Pepper.
Oh, see, I lock my cats away during this because they do the same thing. They bother me.
Bother him? He looked happy. Yeah. So we'll be asking him questions, but the ones Craig has chosen are guys that I think Michael has interviewed as well. So it'll play into that, and we'll take some calls. I asked you off camera if you could do superlatives, so I'll throw one at you. You mentioned Doug obviously saying that British Invasion was the highlight, if not the highlight, one of the top of his career. Is there anyone else that you interviewed that that breathed love of TNA and their time in TNA the most? Like you were just like, that person loved it.
Aaron Stevens, who is now in the NWA. He was obviously Damian Sandow in WWE. He was only there for just a very short period of time and Impact, but he was part of that wedding. He was part of that, Laurel Van Ness wedding that everyone talks about, and honestly, it's probably the greatest wrestling wedding ever because it was like so entertaining. And yeah, he said that he didn't have any negative experiences. He said that Billy Corgan was like his kind of go-to person, which makes sense, right? Now he's in the NWA. Yeah. And he didn't have any issues getting paid on time. He didn't have any issues, from a creative standpoint. He had zero issues. And actually, Davey Richards told me the same thing, that he didn't have any issues either. So, I'd say those two people in recent memory are probably the two most positive ones I've interviewed.
Wow. That's awesome.
I have a question for you. Was there anybody who, obviously some of the recently released people who used to be a part of TNA, the ones who were released from WWE, that you hadn't been able to interview that you think you'll be able to get an interview with now since they aren't part of WWE anymore?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I interviewed Chelsea Green before she was let go. And so two people who worked for WWE spoke with me while they were actively part of the company, Jeff Hardy and Chelsea. And I was, I didn't believe I was going to get to talk to them until it happened, because I thought, if WWE gets wind of this, they're not going to allow it to happen, because, why would they? But it's funny, after Chelsea got let go, then she started to say to people, I'm not doing interviews because everyone is bombarding her probably with interview requests. So I'm like, good thing I spoke with her before all this because, you know, I was competing with less people. And so I'm glad I spoke with her. And I do think that, you know, if she were to come back, obviously I'd want to talk to her again, so kind of cover that part of her career. But to your point, yeah, I reached out to someone who knows Samoa Joe, and I said, can you reach out to Joe? I said, because I would absolutely love to talk to Samoa Joe. I never thought I'd get a chance to talk to Samoa Joe or AJ Styles or anyone like that. So I was like, if you don't mind, please reach out to him. And, you know, he said, okay. So I was going to follow up with him next week and just see if he heard back. But, you know, it took a little while for certain people to kind of come through, like Ken Anderson being one. So, you know, some people are just kind of worth the wait. And I am also trying, or will try, for Mickie James, because I think that she would be a great person to interview. I obviously interviewed Nick Aldis. So, you know, I do think there's a possibility of having the opportunity to speak with Mickie. Just don't know when. So we'll see.
Jeff interviewed Mickie James.
I did. Anyways, let's keep going here. Yeah, no, both great people. It's yeah, Chelsea. Maybe it's part like that she was getting bombarded, but also I think she just announced her own podcast. So I'm sure she's saving stories. But it's cool to get that. I hope you do get to get that post WWE interview, because then, you know, I want to see how bad, or like if her story changes depending on the experiences she had in NXT and stuff. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll have to tune in next. People will have to tune in next month to see if you got the Samoa Joe.
I wrote it down so we don't forget. It's
good job.
I'm doing my job. All right, Craig, you got another one for us?
Yeah. So, would you rather Jeff Hardy become X Division champion or Monty Brown become world champion?
Oh.
Monty Brown?
Yeah.
I loved Monty Brown.
Right. This is it. Neither of these are bad.
Yeah.
These aren't bad. What do you mean?
Would you rather Impact shut down or AJ Styles return to the company? I feel like these are the questions.
That is not even close to it. What he's saying is Monty Brown's great. He's never won the World Championship. Jeff Hardy is the sore spot in the X Division. He's never won the X Division title.
Yeah, but I'm fine with him never
winning the X
point
of the game,
I'll take Monty Brown. But I don't feel like these questions are hard.
To you? I don't know what to do.
Really? You're really struggling with this one?
Jeff Hardy, yeah. I've said that from the get-go. He should have won the X Division Championship shortly after he debuted when he left WWE that first time, or WWF at the time. His debut, I watched it live. Him coming out to AJ, he should have beat AJ right then, Max. But it's just weird that RVD has even held it. Like, there's people that need to hold that title, and Jeff Hardy is one. And Monty Brown's like 55, 60, bro. If this was during his prime, yeah, of course I would love him to win it. But regardless, if I could go back and change things, or if it's now, I'd still say Jeff Hardy. Doesn't mean I don't want Monty Brown on my television. Of course I would. Period.
What about you, Michael?
Yeah, and actually, Monty Brown's one of those people I'm trying to interview. I just need to find someone who has his contact information. So I've been asking everyone. I'm like, do you happen to know Monty Brown? Because to me, there's kind of two black male wrestlers who had should have been pushed harder, but weren't. It's Monty Brown and Pope.
Yeah.
And I spoke with Pope about it. And he was actually all positive, but Monty's the other person, because he was really being pushed, people really behind him. And then obviously he just never got the gold. And you could say the same thing about Roddy Piper, or Jake the Snake, or whoever, right? But it is frustrating as a fan. So yeah, I would absolutely love for him to kind of have the gold, because they say sometimes the belt makes the person, and I think Jeff is I mean, God, he's been like an icon for so long that I don't know that a belt necessarily makes him. Like, he's been in his own stratosphere forever. Where I think Monty would kind of give him that extra level of legitimacy and hopefully make him more of a household name like Jeff Hardy is.
That's great points. I do want to mention that Hakeem mentioned in there that R-Truth had a better run in Impact than Monty Brown. That's 100% true. And now we also have to mention Monty did leave us for WWE to do that ECW thing, Marcus Corvon. But he was late in the game. WWE was always his dream. I think he started wrestling at 35. I think he DDP'd it. Great guy. Wish him the best. Obviously played football right around the corner. So, I'd go Jeff. What about you guys in the chat? I see a lot of Monties. Okay, well, I'm an asshole. I'm going to work on getting someone in here. I know Bert had mentioned he wanted to come aboard and ask Mike a question, so I'm going to get that working. While, Craig, if you have something to ask Michael, we could go with that.
Well, you pretty much stole my questions. Yeah.
Craig's got or Max got one if you.
I have a question, Michael.
Sure.
What's a crazy or wild story you can start telling us here, but then we're gonna have to buy the book and hear the rest of it? Like I want a cliffhanger story where I'm like, all right, I gotta go buy the book for this one.
I'm trying to think. What can I say that's not? Well, because there's some stuff I heard that I can't publish. It's too ridiculous, and like I would get sued. So I can't tell you that. But
how do we get that book?
Right. That would be like for like on Patreon or something.
20th anniversary after dark. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would probably say you're going to get. There's going to be, and I mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again. Is the whole electrified steel cage? You're going to understand. How much it costs. Whose idea it was for Lockdown 2007. How things were just a complete mess, and what they did to try to rectify the situation. It's funny. I see someone chiming in there about this Russo asking for $1,000, which is absolutely true. But no, I think that electrified steel cage. Oh, you know what? Hold on, I got something. Daphne. So I interviewed Daphne. And she's basically kind of allowing me, if you will, to be kind of the first person to tell her story about the whole workers' comp claim that she filed against the company. And so she, shared information with me that I don't think she shared with anyone before when it comes to that. And there's more to come, as it relates to that. So I think that that's definitely going to be its own chapter. And, that's the thing. These books aren't necessarily those moments where you're like, that's really unfortunate. But it's real, right? You got to have those moments of reality to try and it's like a roller coaster. It can't all be going up the whole time. You got to have a little, a dip here and there just to kind of bring us back down.
It doesn't feel real or organic if you were just to put the good stuff or what people see as good stuff. I mean, it's been 20 years, so we've moved past that. But we do have Bert on the line. Bert, what you doing, buddy?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good to hear your voice again. Bert joined us for Rebellion, so cheap plug there. For the Rebellion preview, if you want to go watch that after the show, go do that. So you got a question for Michael, my friend?
Yeah, I actually do. I actually started watching TNA in about 2010. So the reverse battle royal was a little before my time. I kind of wanted to ask you who came up with that and who thought that would have been a good idea, and how did that come about?
I don't know. I could ask. They had a lot of reverse things, right? The reverse battle royal, King of the Mountain was like a reverse ladder match. I'm not sure. It sounds like a Vince Russo idea, right? It's like, bro, what can we do to make it different? Rewind it.
That's why you don't know the answer, because you didn't pay that $1,000.
Yeah.
It's like Triple Cage in the movie.
Jeff Jarrett that question.
Yeah, I'm sure Jeff Jarrett does. All right, Bert, do you want to ask something else since we weren't too sure?
Yeah. I just have just another quick question about Rebellion. Is there one thing that you want to see from the show going forward? Is there something that you want to see happen? That kind of just that's going to help going forward from this show. What do you want to see most? Like, is there something that you want to see?
Yeah, so I do think that the biggest thing for Impact right now that they have to kind of get past is, I guess it all depends on how this whole thing shakes out with the world title, but I think we need to get past this whole Kenny Omega, Good Brothers, Don Callis, whatever thing. I think we need something new and fresh. So it needs to go in a different direction. I think that we saw it kind of spike when it first happened, but I think it's kind of petered out. So they really do need to kind of just give us something fresh and new when it comes to this whole, whether it be New Japan or AEW, something needs to be the focal point other than Don Callis, Kenny Omega, and the Good Brothers, because you just need that. Otherwise, people are going to be like, this again? We want to get people to tune in, not tune out.
I completely agree with you about the Good Brothers point, because unless you were like a big fan of New Japan or their WWE run, there's probably some bigger names that could have come over from Impact other than the Good Brothers. I don't think the Good Brothers really move the needle as much as people think they do. I don't. No disrespect to the Good Brothers.
Big LG.
I'm just
go ahead and kick him out of the call now.
No. Well, finish your point, my friend. Come on, Bert.
No, yeah, that's all I was saying.
Well, I am going to tag you out. That's how we're going to say it from now on. No more kicking you out. So we're going to tag you out. Thank you for your call, Bert, and we'll answer that right after we kick you off here. All right. Well, yeah, that's a Pandora's box. Oof. I don't know. Do we want to address that really quick? Do you want to?
I mean, so hold on. So they were released in 2020.
Yeah. Here, while you look that up, I will say my point really quick, because I think it's going to play into what you said, because we talk about this on and off air. The Good Brothers might not be moving the needle with the ratings, which, once again, I know ratings mean stuff to certain people and certain execs, but to me it doesn't, because I don't think that's Impact's path. I think their path is, obviously, we're on PlayStation now. We're going to be on more available formats and bigger streaming services. So I think that's the goal there, but obviously numbers and the ratings help. The key thing with the Good Brothers that we wouldn't have without them, is relationships with AEW and New Japan. So getting them put us in a level of a talking point. Has it helped us as far as numbers? I don't know. I don't know the logistics of it. I do know that the app now plays commercials on that. They monetize the app, so there must be things rolling in their favor from that point. Max?
Yeah, so here's the people that they released in 2020. So if we're just looking at who was there for them to pick up. Kurt Angle, which big pickup but older. Rusev, who I still think is overrated. Drake Maverick, who re-signed. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. Eric Young, who came. EC3, who's on at what's it called? Kurt Hawkins, Leo Rush, Heath Slater, Aiden English, Sarah Logan, Mike Shinoda. Well, I don't think, like, out of the people that they released, I think that they were your biggest signing possible.
Okay, yeah. I see. Okay.
That you could have brought in. Like, they were the biggest movie outside of you going in and grabbing someone from, like, major from New Japan, who I don't think, but like when everybody was released at that time, they were the biggest needle movers available. And I think they've been used well to bridge the gap between New Japan, Impact, and AEW, because they've kind of crossed all three of those, even though they've never a part of AEW, because of Kenny Omega, they link up with him to basically create for us
a partnership,
a super villain, like, to go up against in Impact that you're rooting against, which is these guys. So,
well, thanks, Bert. Appreciate that. I hope we didn't shit on your answer or your question. We tried our best.
No, I mean, I think his opinion is valid. When I'm just saying that's just my thought on it.
No, I know, buddy. I know. So I'm gonna throw another superlative in there, and then we'll get to Craig's next Would You Rather. Who's the funniest wrestler you've talked to that actually made you laugh out loud, that just made you pop?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think. Man, wrestler or
personality? Anyone in that you interviewed for this?
Yeah. Well, there was this guy. the person who pops into my head is Randy Ritchie. So I don't expect anyone to know this guy. But there was this guy, Randy Ritchie, who I interviewed, who was like a producer, actually around the time of 2007, 2008. He worked, on the part of the production crew, and he was brutally honest with me and basically just said some wild things that made me really kind of laugh and just look at. And it was really about the cage. I think the electrified steel cage, because again, for me, part of this process is not knowing a lot of things and learning as I talk to people. I honestly had never seen the electrified steel cage match, and I said to him, like, what? I was like, oh, I got to look into that. And I did, and the more I looked into it, the more I was like texting him, and I was like, oh my God, I found out this and that. And he's like, oh, talk to this person, talk to that person. And I'm like, really? So, I mean, I think that was, so hilarious that it caused me to say, this deserves its own chapter. Probably this event and this whole catastrophe. But, Pope was so funny. Okay. Let me tell you something Pope told me. So I was talking to Pope, and he was talking to me about, we were talking about meet and greets, and, I was saying, TNA did so many of them. You can meet the talent before the show, during intermission, after the show. And some people say that that's overkill, and it kind of kills the mystique of the talent, for the fans, if they're that accessible. So Pope said, he's like, he said, it's like if you're walking down the street and you see the same hooker over and over again, and you're like, oh, not you again. I want the other one.
You take that's good.
It's amazing. I was like, that's
yeah.
going.
Oh, yeah. All on the record. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All
nice.
on the record.
And I think he said something like, if you're into that thing,
right?
Not like if you're into hookers.
Craig.
All right, so got another. Would you rather Spike TV never pick up TNA Impact, or Access TV? Or Anthem never take over? Who wants to start that one?
I mean, I would rather Spike never. So here's my thing, though. If Spike never takes over, does Impact ever get to the point where Anthem decides to take over?
No. That's the debate.
But if that still happened, like if for some reason they never went on Spike, but Anthem still takes over, I would choose for them to never go on Spike, because I think that Impact is in such a good spot right now with where they're at, who's in charge, who's running things. I think they're in an amazing spot now, that if it wasn't Anthem that was in charge, if it was still Billy Corgan or Dixie, I don't know. I feel like they would be in like an ROH situation as opposed to where they are now.
You there. I see. It depends on what Paramount pick it up, and that's what matters. Their streaming service, because that's what turned in from TNN to Spike to that, to Paramount. Here's the thing, and that's the hard part. I think if you take away Spike, you never get to where we are now. But if you go on Spike and you don't get to where we are now, it's just we're making money, but not as much as we could, and we would probably be dead by now. I think that's a fair assessment. Just because of the management that was there and the combustible components that we obviously found out about later. I actually have a question for Mike about some management in a second, but Mike, what would you say is the...
Well, I've spoken with a lot of people from Spike, and I even spoke with, I spoke with the owner, or the head of Viacom. I spoke with the head of Spike. I spoke with all of the people kind of underneath them. So I really, gathered a strong understanding of Spike, and that's going to be a big part of the books is Spike and that relationship, and Fox Sports Net too. I feel like when people think TNA, they think Spike. So I really think that Spike is honestly a vital part of the company's history. So I think that it's probably the best thing that ever happened to them, because another thing to consider is that they were making tens of millions of dollars in TV rights from Spike by being on that channel, money that helped keep them going. So if you don't have that money, they couldn't have kept going. And something to point out, which I'll explain in the book, is that when they were on Fox Sports Net, Fox was not paying them a dime to be on the channel. It was the other way around. So, and later on in the company's history, they were on other channels where they, also were not getting money to be on the channel. So that's the thing. If you want to be, and we've heard this as WWE, it really is important to have those TV rights where they're paying you a fee to be on the network. So I think that really was essential. And I guess you could argue, one of those what if things, that if they weren't on Spike, Hogan probably never would have joined. Think about that for a minute, because if Spike subsidized his contract, and TNA didn't have the money for that, then what would the present day be like? I wish they were never
on Spike then. I don't have to deal with Hogan. I do have a question that's actually plays into that with you. So you've spoken to we could list everybody, but we've spoken last time about it, especially a lot of wrestlers, but also a lot of, as you said, executives from different television and Impact as well. I don't know about Anthem, but I'm sure you've mingled in there as well. Is there one person that seemed to be, and obviously Keith Mitchell, which I want to get to in a second, but you spoke to a lot of people that could tell you a personal experience of the events that happened in the worst of times. Is there one person that everyone said that maybe was still a leader during that time? Like, if this person ran TNA, we would have done fine. We would have been on Spike TV still. Is there anyone that sticks out?
So there are two kind of constants, if you will, in the company's history that I've noticed here. One is that, everybody said, not a soul has said anything negative about Bob Ryder. Everyone has said that Bob was just this, selfless human being who was always accessible, who was, always tried to keep a brave face. Because, he was there through all the highs and the lows. And a lot of the change in power and leadership, and, whether it be Bruce Pritchard, John Gaborick, Eric Bischoff, all these people coming and going, he had to kind of deal with it all, right? He was there having to kind of adapt and also try to keep a brave face on for the talent, if they're going through tough situations. So, I think that his leadership, even though it wasn't visible to the fans necessarily, was really important. And we saw that with James Storm and Chris Harris and Chris Sabin and everyone kind of paying tribute to Bob at that, when he had that 1000th match, because they don't obviously take that for granted. And also, I think it's I really do think that people are going to have much, hopefully, a greater opinion of Jeff Jarrett after reading these, because Jeff isn't perfect, and people don't. People that are perfect. We all have flaws. We all have issues that we have to try to overcome. Jeff is one. But if you really look at kind of the trajectory of the company and the quality of the product itself, it seems like Jeff is making way better decisions than Dixie ever did. However, Dixie did seem to always, I don't know that she was being malicious. I think that she, thought that she was making the right decisions, or she, really sweet person and all that stuff. But it seemed like, those two big what ifs for me are that what if Jeff Jarrett wasn't sent home because of the Karen Angle thing, and he, continue, TNA as it was in 2008, and then as a result, obviously Hogan and Bischoff never joining, and just that continuing. And then the other what if is, what if he was, not dealing with alcohol issues, and Global Force actually did merge with Impact, and he was still running the company. I mean, what would that mean? I mean, it obviously all worked out for everyone involved, but I think he was a good leader, and I've heard that from people. And I think that that's just kind of one of those things that, honestly, Jeff Jarrett really is kind of that one great leader that they had, aside from Bob Ryder.
No, I agree. I think those would be the two people that I would have guessed as far as people most being positive as far as liking those people, or the feedback. Bob Ryder obviously came up with TNA, well, not the name, but he was the originator, him and Jeff on the boat, and they came up with it. Boresh as well. So Bob Ryder was, everyone will tell you, the heart and soul of TNA. So that's awesome to get his name said here to the new fans of Impact and old as well. I do have one thing off of that. So you've spoken to Keith Mitchell, who, for those of you who don't know, was a longtime WCW director, then TNA and Impact, and then he left us for AEW. I want to know, is he going to sell us back our tunnels he stole, or is?
So yes, I've spoken with a lot of people who work in AEW, who used to work for TNA. Jeff Bornstein, who, if you've seen the which they've played it to death, you see that Kenny Omega thing where he's like surrounded by lights and he's like pointing at the camera. It's what they call an ID shot, and so I think someone in AEW came up with that, and Jeff Bornstein, their lighting guy, created that, which is pretty damn cool. So I interviewed Jeff. I interviewed Chris Dispenza. He's the one who would do a lot of the props and things, and we talked about the tunnels. And I said, people say that the tunnels are now in AEW, and that you guys kind of stole that. And so he's got some thoughts as it relates to that. And yeah, it is interesting how they have kind of been making some of the same decisions that TNA did, for better or worse. And then Keith, Keith is so for people who don't know, so Keith Mitchell, he worked for World Class Championship Wrestling. He worked for WCW. He worked for TNA and now AEW. So he's been in the business for like 40 years. And he said to me when I first talked to him on the phone, he said, "You've never seen me do an interview for WCCW. You never seen me do an interview for WCW. You never seen me do an interview for TNA, and you've never seen me do one for AEW." He's like, "There's a reason for that." And I said, "What?" And he's like, "I don't do interviews." And I'm like, "Okay." But I interviewed enough people that he's close with that they said, "You really should talk to Michael." And, he did. And I was just like, holy shit, right? Like, to have an interview with someone who's got that pedigree and that much respect, and to talk to him for like 5 hours spread across like 2 days. And he gave me some amazing stuff. Like I said to him, like, here's an example. I said, "Hey, TNA went on the road permanently in 2013, for a period of time." I said, "What's the cost difference between putting on a show in Orlando in a soundstage versus being on the road?" And he gave me numbers. He's like, "Well, here's what it would cost. Here's the difference," which is astronomical. So just having that kind of insight was really helpful. And yeah, he just had some really interesting thoughts. And something you're going to get a lot of in the book too is a lot of thoughts from people on John Gaboric, because his name is...
Oh, lost him there.
Basically came in and was in charge there for a while. And, a lot of it's not going to be positive because he made a lot of bad decisions. So, get ready for that, because a lot of people I spoke with were, willing to share thoughts about him and his
polarizing
on the company.
Yeah. Craig, you want to get the next one in? Do you have another one?
Yeah, I've got another one. So, would you rather CM Punk return now as CM Punk, not TNA CM Punk, or would you rather Christian Cage never become TNA World Champion?
I want to start this one because I was actually thinking about this for a second when he was talking about Jeff Jarrett. See, Jeff Jarrett's one of those people that, besides for Anthem, would be probably my second person that I would want to run a TNA. But for every good thing Jeff Jarrett has done or stole or used, there's always something like with Christian. So he brought Christian in, but he's also the reason Christian left. So it was kind of I think I would rather have CM Punk come back because of what it would do for the industry, especially if he's not in WWE, compared to Christian, who I was so happy won the title, but left, not that long after. What do you have, a 3-year run at the most? So I'd rather besides the fact, so at least we'd still get the white jeans joke and stuff that he did on Jarrett. We would still have the Abyss attacking him at his house and indoor pool. So we would still have fun things. We just want to have him as champion. So, you guys?
So I either have Christian as champion or CM Punk come back. Those are my options.
Yeah.
I would choose Christian as champion just because I don't know if CM Punk's heart is still in wrestling. I mean, he's been gone now. His last match in WWE was 2014. So I feel like at that point, like, it obviously if he wanted to come back, he could. I mean, Goldberg's been back more recently than CM Punk is. So I don't think the guy's heart's in wrestling, and I wouldn't want him coming back if he really wasn't motivated. I don't think I want like best in the world CM Punk. I don't want I'm here because I have bills to pay CM Punk.
Fair enough.
Michael.
Yeah, I think CM Punk is kind of like, and he may hate this comparison, but it's kind of like Austin Aries, right? He's really talented, really great at getting people to feel a certain way, but also can be, might be known as difficult, right? So, I would definitely say CM Punk. I would take him coming back. Although I got to tell you, I was never, I guess when it comes to like with tag teams, there's always kind of the more popular person or the person who you appreciate more. Like with the Legion of Doom, it was Hawk for me. With the Hardys, I guess it's Jeff. With Edge and Christian, it's Edge. So I never really was like a hardcore Christian guy, and I always thought his move was the unprettier, the kill switch or whatever. The dumbest looking move ever. It just looked so freaking terrible. So it just looks so improbable and lame. And I also got to tell you, I'm also not a fan of the Styles Clash. I feel like that's pretty lame too. It's like a belly flop. It's just it's lame compared to all the other stuff he does. It's terrible.
The Styles Clash actually breaks people's necks in real life.
Right.
It is a devastating finishing move. So
rest his soul.
Yeah, I don't mean to. I don't mean to just like throw that out there.
No, fair enough.
Just,
I think the Magic Killer is the worst finisher in the world. So I
yeah. So I do have to go back and really look at the Christian's run in TNA, and that's not something I've done yet. He is another person, by the way, that I would like to speak with. And I do know people that know him. So it's a possibility. Awesome. Who knows? But I do think that he's someone I really need to kind of take a close look at, and just kind of, because he's a perfect example of someone who had a better run, or strong run in TNA, and was kind of put on a higher level in TNA than he was perhaps in WWE, where he was really kind of seen as like a tag team guy. And I think that that's why certain people went to TNA, because they felt like maybe they're not appreciated the way they should be, and they want to go somewhere else so they could shine.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Real quick, as far as another superlative goes, we were talking about the love of wrestling. So, is there one now? One of the let me give you a little precursor to this. So, our friend Johnny is a photographer for wrestling, or used to be, and he get us backstage, and we get to ask him all these questions. Like we were marks. Not that that's changed, but I miss those stories. He doesn't do it as much. Is there one person that you interviewed that you're like, I know I already mentioned the love of TNA, but just the love of wrestling history, like just that specifically? Surprisingly, what's his name? Chris Masters, Chris Adonis was one our friend Johnny always talked about, like, is such a surprisingly loves wrestling, marking out for the wrestlers backstage. Is there anyone that comes to mind for you?
Yeah. And I think I'm going to pronounce his name right. Tyson Ducks. Yeah.
Nice.
So, him and I talked like at length about Bret Hart and British Bulldog and kind of technical wrestling, and just how important it is to do things a certain way, I guess, that isn't really happening now. And yeah, so he seemed to have really deep appreciation for kind of the technical aspect of it. He really seems to love that. So I think that was, we kind of bonded over that, which is always great to be able to kind of, because we're not wrestlers, right? So anytime it feels like we're kind of on the same level when we're talking to people who actually do it, and they seem to kind of, value our thoughts. I mean, that's always a big compliment. So I felt like we really did connect over that. And yeah, he's kind of the one that springs to mind. And I also talked to some people at length about the X Division and that style of wrestling. And honestly, how it's, I would argue, the most influential thing in wrestling over the past 20 years is the X Division. And the reason why is because without the X Division, we wouldn't have what is now the predominant form of wrestling today, or probably the majority of the wrestlers we have today. Because think of all the smaller, high-flying type of talent that had AJ Styles and all these other people not been doing their thing, wouldn't have said, I can do that too. So, I really tried to explore that with my interviews and just figure out, what makes it unique and, what kind of influence did it have. So I really, connected with people like Davey Richards, Eddie Edwards, and other people talking about that. So, I tried to get into that as well.
Awesome. The history, the love of, I love seeing that. I'm always a mark for that when I see, because there are a lot of wrestlers, and I'm sure you've come into touch with some of them that just, this is their job. Just like any sport or show or TV show or whatever it may be. Some of them it's just a payday, and so it's fun to hear the ones that really embrace it. Now, I see a question for you from Wrestling Jeebus there. It says, when do you plan for the book to be out, Michael? And before you answer that, if there's anyone else that wants to get in a call, I didn't check time, hit us up really quick. 12 minutes, we'll get you on really quick, and you'll be the last call. So, Michael, and when do you plan for the book to be out?
So, for me, kind of like I was saying, there were several people who my interviewing is slowing down now because I feel like I've gotten through almost everyone I want to get through. I'm obviously open to new people, and there are some big names still to come. But I was talking to Jeff Jarrett the other day. I said, Jeff, we need to schedule our interviews. I said, because I saw your podcast was coming out, and when I saw that his podcast was coming out, I was like, holy shit. I was like, what does this mean? Am I still able to talk to Jeff or not?
And he's probably going to start spilling the good shit.
Right. Well, I don't care. I mean, but I just want to make sure that I still get the opportunity to talk to him. So we're going to set up a bunch of interviews in May, just kind of like, little short interviews and, try to bang all that out. But once I talk to him, I guess I could start writing it technically without talking to him. But I think that his voice is going to sure that I really kind of get all those interviews in the can before I really, really focus on the writing. But I would say that this month, well, probably not this month, probably May, I will start like seriously writing it, because really up until this point, it's just been kind of research and interviews. And at that point, I think that I hope to get through the first book, by the end of, next year. So, I mean, I would say really, if we're being optimistic, maybe by the end of 2022, the first book would come out. But realistically, probably no earlier than 2023. And I don't know at what time. I think it's really important to make sure that when it comes to writing, the first thing is just write it, right? Just get it out of your head and onto the piece of paper. And then 2, revise. And when you're revising, you either are editing the sentences themselves or also the structure of the book, saying, oh, do I need this here? Do we want to move it over there? Does it make sense to have, like, I'm pondering the idea of, do I have, because I've interviewed so many people, do I have a chapter kind of dedicated to a specific talent or a specific pay-per-view or something like that? Like, do I kind of hop around where it's not just, each chapter is kind of a continuing narrative? Do I kind of have little breaks in the action, if you will, where it's just like, superstar spotlight or something like that? Or who knows? So I'm really kind of, and I think that a lot of times you don't figure that out until you start writing it. So, I that's why I'm saying 2023 is probably realistic. but I do plan on writing these pretty much like at the same time. So, by the time the first book's out, the second one will hopefully be done. So the window of time between book 1 and book 2 will not be very long. I think just between now and book 1 will be.
Yeah, that's how it goes. But that'll be exciting to have. It's like what's that called? Binging. Now everyone wants it boom, 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 right after each other, and they lose their attention span.
Yeah.
So to have it right after is amazing for you, but also for us to put it down and say, I wish I could read more, and then read another one. Looks like I tried calling, but it didn't work there, Io. So we only have 9 minutes anyways. Craig, do you have one more you want to get out there, or anyone else want to ask Michael something before he heads out and we go to the Rebellion preview?
So the book, when it comes out, are we looking at just a digital copy, or are we looking at digital and eventually a hard copy version, or?
Yeah, so, the way I plan on doing it is I love to read on my Kindle. So it's definitely going to be digital. And it'll be $9.99, right?
Wow.
I'm not, I don't care if it's 1,000 pages or if it's 300 pages. It's going to be $9.99 for the book. Because I think $9.99 is a fair price. I don't think, I remember, and I won't say which book because I don't want to be negative. It's a great book, but when it first came out, it was like $20, and I'm like, that's outrageous. I'm not going to charge people $20 for an ebook. Now, for the print one, I'll be doing it through Amazon. So, that might be $15. I don't know. I'm not sure how they operate, but, it won't be anything nuts again. And that'll probably be a paperback, but like a large paperback, not like a little tiny one. Yeah. And then there'll also be an audiobook. So I want to make sure that I love audiobooks. I listen to them all the time. And I want to make sure that through Audible you can, kind of self-publish. But I want to make sure that the narrator who I hire can pronounce all the names correctly. Hopefully this person would be a wrestling fan. So I just want to make sure they're not butchering names. I also want to make sure that they kind of have, of course, like someone with like a Barry Scott type voice would be pretty badass, right? Someone with like a deep baritone who's kind of, talking about it would be pretty cool. So, yeah, we'll see. That's kind of the goal here. And something I want to throw out there, not that anyone asked, but what the hell, I'll tell you anyway, is so on WrestleMania Sunday, I woke up and I checked my phone and I had a text message from Ken Anderson. So I had reached out to Ken like multiple times over, a month. And I was like, okay, I'm just giving up. Because like someone who connected us said, yeah, he'll do it. But he never got back to me. I left him voicemails. I texted him. I felt like a friggin' stalker. And I said, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm just going to let it be. And then I wake up to a text message from him and he's like, hey man, when do you want to talk? And I'm like, what the?
Like it's your fault.
I said, and this was like early morning, 6:30 or whatever. So I said, do you want to talk today? I said, yeah, I'm free later. He's like, yeah, my kids got to wake up and whatever. I said, okay. So we talked probably for 2.5 hours. And we talked so long that his wife came out to check on him to make sure he wasn't like dead. She's like, you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm good. Still talking to Michael, right? And it was just really fascinating because to me, certain people who I've interviewed, I feel like are just kind of underappreciated. And WWE, Ken could have been huge. And in TNA, he did, get that opportunity, but he also, shared with me his genuine thoughts about, did he feel like he was mature enough to appreciate what he was given and all those things. And, we really got into pretty much everything. And I just thought, for me, like kind of highlighting people like him in the book and Pope and others, I think it's important because even though we do kind of sometimes crap on the Hogan era, we got Ken Anderson, right? Because of that. We got, Pope was there right before it. But the point is that there were still good things that happened during that time period. And some of those promos of like Ken imitating Sting and Kurt Angle were like gold. I wouldn't trade that for anything because it was just so entertaining. So I just think that, that was a great story. And then there was another person who called me at like 1 a.m. Thankfully, I have my phone set to like do not disturb when I'm asleep. And I won't say who it is because we haven't done an interview yet. But let's just say he's a really big star, and he's like, "Hey man, felt like talking. Talk to you later." And I was like, "Okay." And so I keep checking in with him every week just to see if he's available so he can make it happen.
Okay.
I guess he's feeling nostalgic late one night and wanted to talk at like 1 a.m. So we'll see when that interview happens.
That's a clip.
Very big. Yeah,
I'm just waiting for the audiobook. The History of TNA is narrated by Hulk Hogan. I just can't wait to.
I think Vince Russo would do it for $10,000. I think.
Yeah, I just asked him, "Hey man, if I give you $1,000, I don't want an interview. Can you just read my audiobook and be the narrator?"
Use a cameo.
Yeah, I do see a question there that we can address. So, Wrestling Jeebus asked if I was starstruck by anyone. So yeah. I mean, I think that Jeff Hardy was probably the person who I was starstruck by because, he's Jeff Hardy. And he was just really, pretty amazing to be able to talk to someone of that stature. But I try not to. I try to treat people like normal people, right? I don't say like, "Oh, you remember that one time in 1994 when you did this," and I think they're not going to remember that. So I try to just be like, "Hey man, how's it going? Thanks so much," and whatever, and just kind of get into it, and just be respectful. Yes, I'd say Jeff Hardy's probably kind of the one I nerded out over the most.
All right, well, it's already 8:57. Well, I guess we count down the time until you get here in May. Hopefully, we could do it a little bit early. What's actually booking on here? Is there some time that you think you'll be getting an interview that you want to wait till after?
The problem is I don't know until like last weekend. Gail Kim emailed me because I'd reached out to her, and she said, ex-talent who is a legend and big name. Gail said, this person's interested, and it connected us, and so I need to
follow up,
lock that in. But that would just be a great person to have, and I don't know when I'm talking to this person, so
let's the guessing begin. We'll leave off on that. We want to thank Michael Cavaccini and you guys for watching. Obviously, you could follow him at MCAVACINI. I don't know why I said it. It's right there. Or his website, michaelcavaccini.com. And like I said earlier, follow this man because every other day it feels like, if not every day, there's something he's putting out there that is an awesome read or a new interview he's doing. So you will be able to see before we even address it on the show. Thank you, Michael. It was a pleasure. We'll see you in May. Anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
No, well, yeah. Well, you know what? The only thing I would say is that something I'm looking for, and if anyone has it out there,
defreeze.
Global Force Wrestling Amped Anthology Volume 3 and Volume 4. I have 1 and 2, but GFW is going to be a big part of this, right? Book 2. So I want to make sure that I get a chance to check that stuff out. So if anyone has those DVDs, I'll give you a shout out in the book as a thank you.
I think I know where I can find them.
Oh, you do? Okay, good.
Yeah, let's talk after.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. I
think Jeff Jarrett's looking for him still too. At least the original copies. So bad joke. Let's end it off on that, guys. Stay tuned. Well, not actually. No, it's going to be on YouTube. I'm sorry. This will be on YouTube tomorrow as well as Sounder. And if you want to go watch our Rebellion preview show, which is what I was trying to say, go to our YouTube channel and give that a watch. If you like it, participate, and yes, we'll see you guys in the chat. Craig, Max, say your goodbyes.
I mean, next time we get together, we'll get to celebrate Rich Swann, AEW World Heavyweight Champion.
Happy Rebellion, guys. See you later.
Later, guys.
See ya.